So hey, I'm Hani. That was just like hello hey, but anyway, this video is going to be about my trip to Northern Ireland, with the highlight being the Giant's Causeway. Yay! I finally made it to Northern Ireland before Brexit. Who knows if I'm going to make it there after it. I can't believe I'm finally sitting down to film this because it's been too long. This video is the video that, when it comes out, will be the most chronically of when it was filmed. Because this Giant's Causeway trip was in the middle of February and it's like the middle of March now. What have I been doing? I've just been setting up filming the intro and just talking bit, because I didn't want it to just be like video of the Giant's Causeway. I actually wanted to have like a bit of a conversation about that trip, even though it was just a day trip and not like my usual weekend trips or anything, but still I wanted to explain some things and my emotions about the trip, so you can actually take something useful away from it. Oh yeah, and I also have my computer here because I actually have to Google the trip. It's not that I forgot everything about the trip, I just forgot like small details, because there was another trip that we did with Paddy Wagon and they always stop like at random, not like random, but they stop at different things and then have like one or two highlights of the trip. So I don't want to forget all the small bits, that's why I'm googling it again. First of all, I have to say that we weren't like unlucky with the weather, but we weren't like super lucky either. So it wasn't like, I remember the first trip that I ever did with Paddy Wagon, the Connemara trip and Galway, we had like the best weather the first day. It was amazing, and I feel like even though the weather doesn't always play into it, sometimes like in video or also photographs or just like this general scene, sometimes the weather does play a part. So the weather was just kind of like up and down that day, so keep that in mind when you watch the video content. So the trip started here in Dublin at a reasonable time, so it was a time where me from the area could go into town by dart and not be too late, because there was one trip where I had to grab a taxi because it was way too early. Okay, so we started in Dublin then, and our first stop was the Dark Hedges, which are featured in Game of Thrones as well. I'd say it was a pretty nice like first stop to get out and see something, some nature and some trees, but honestly it wasn't like impressive. Like, I don't know if I would have been planning a trip myself if I'd stopped at the Dark Hedges, probably not. There were a lot of tourists there, so I guess they are probably like pretty famous tourist attraction. Just me personally, I wasn't that swayed by them. I don't know what it was, maybe we didn't have enough time, maybe it was the weather or anything. I am however glad though that we visited them in February, because they were like really, they had this really like dark look to them, and even our bus driver said like it's the nicest time to visit the Dark Hedges like in winter, because in summer when they're like in full bloom, of course it doesn't look as creepy and as nice as in winter. Our second stop, however, I'd say was a must-have, and that was the Carrick-a-rede Ropebridge. Each person could choose whether or not they wanted to go over the rope bridge. It was like, I think a cost of like, I don't even remember, 10 euro? It was 10 euro I think. Like, I don't know the cost in pound, because obviously you use pound in Northern Ireland, or sterling. So I did pay the price, because like if I'm going to Carrick-a-rede, of course I'm going over the bridge, I'm not just looking at the bridge, and it's not like I'm afraid of heights or anything. But it was kind of like overwhelming and underwhelming at the same time. Like, I remember going over the bridge and thinking like, wow, that's it. Like because you see all those pictures of the rope bridge, because it's like such a nice like just picture to see the rope bridge hanging between those two cliffs, and it's so nice. But then when you go over it, it's kind of like that looks different on Google Images, you know. Just kind of that feeling. But at the same time, it was like a thing that I'm glad I did. It's not like so underwhelming that I was like, oh, I just threw 10 euro out of the window. It was something that you just have to do, I think. There are certain kind of things that are just like maybe a little bit overhyped, but you still have to do them, and that was one of these things, and I absolutely don't regret going over that bridge. It was amazing, and you could take some nice pictures from the other side as well. I just love cliffs. Like, I just love the cliffs in Ireland. I think they're so beautiful and amazing, and I just love the sea as well. It's like my favourite thing. And then we made it up to our big stop, the Giant's Causeway. We had another small stop before for lunch, but I packed my own lunch, so I can't really rate the lunch place that we went to. So, but yeah, the Giant's Causeway, probably the most well-known tourist attraction of Northern Ireland, I'd say. Yeah, it probably is, apart from the Titanic Museum in Belfast. Like, what I really liked again about the bus tour as well is that our bus driver told us a lot about like stories and just history while we were driving, and he told us the story of the Giant's Causeway. And I think that's the most charming thing about it, is that it's such a place connected with stories, because there are sometimes nature places where you're like, oh well, that was nice, but like it doesn't have anything, like it doesn't have a spark. While the Giant's Causeway, with all the stories about it and all the mythical creatures and everything, I think it makes it way worthwhile. Just to hear the stories even, and the visitor centre at the Giant's Causeway is really nicely made. Like, honestly, it was, I was impressed. It was pretty new, I'd say. They also like incorporated all those stories about the Giant's Causeway in that visitor centre, which was really nice. We did the visitor centre afterwards though. The first thing we did was walk to the Giant's Causeway, because it's actually like a 20-minute walk from the visitor centre to the Giant's Causeway. And at the Giant's Causeway, I think it's just like amazing to see like those stone formations. It makes me want to believe all these stories, because it's just so crazy that nature can do this, that it's been like over time formed to be this. Like, I think it's amazing, and it was really one of my favourite memories here in Ireland, let's say. Just hopping around, I felt like a goat. I don't know why, I felt like a goat walking around the Giant's Causeway, and it looks really nice in pictures. I know that shouldn't be like a criteria whether or not a place looks nice in pictures, but for me it is, because I love photography, so I was really happy with the pictures I got there, and in general it was just a really nice experience. For everyone, I'd recommend going to the Giant's Causeway at least once when you're in Ireland, because it's a must-have, okay? I'd say it was probably the most must-have after the Cliffs of Moher. The most must-have. Now, it's like the biggest thing, probably the biggest natural site impact thing after the Cliffs of Moher was the Giant's Causeway, I'd say. On our way back to Belfast, we stopped on one castle just quickly it was like a photo stop. Another castle featuring Game of Thrones, I think, but yeah, and then we made it to Belfast, where we had 1 hour. Now there's the thing, we could have done the 2-day trip, where the only like basic difference would be more time in Belfast, and I'd say Belfast kind of, out of all things, it probably was the only point where it outdid my expectations for some reason. I don't know why, because I've heard so much bad things about Belfast, because I mean it is kind of a thing that the Irish people are kind of like still in a dispute, and like, oh, Northern Ireland is like crazy and dangerous, and Belfast is just like this big industrial city which is really ugly. And of course there probably are like ugly parts, but in general I'd say it was a really pretty city. Like, I was blown away by how nice it was. I'd say, however, that it does have more of a English feel to it than an Irish feel. Like, totally, it feels like you're in an English city and not in Ireland at all. But I love English cities as well, so I wasn't minding that. And I just thought, even though we had such little time, I think I have that time in good memory, is how I say it. I'd love to go up to Belfast again and see the Titanic Museum, because my friend said it's absolutely amazing. So yeah, that's on my list still, but I don't know, it's like lower on my list, so I don't know if I'm actually going to get to it, because there are other things that I want to do. Oh my goodness, I only have 2 months left. Like, yesterday was the day where it was like 2 months, and now it's countdown, you know, and I'm like, oh, I have to do all these things, but I don't have time, and like, it's crazy. Yeah, but anyway, that actually concludes the whole trip. So generally I'd say I like it, I recommend it, but I'm sure it's not for everybody, and yeah. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, you can give it a thumbs up, and if not, then you can give it a thumbs down, I guess, but that's really sad. Have a great day, have a nice day, have a beautiful weather day as well. I look outside right now and the sun is shining, so I hope the day today is going to be nice, because I want to go to the sea later. Not into the sea, because it's too cold still, but I want to go take a walk. So yeah, bye, be back on my channel.